I asked you guys this at the Silk Cope, if you were there at the Silk Cope presentation we did, the winter beef management course. And is farming a business? And I think most of you are here because you're starting to think of it as a business. Is that right? You know, I told you at that talk that I did that whenever I do something, I like to try and make money at it. I mean, if I didn't make any money at farming, then it probably wouldn't be nearly as much fun if all I did was just burn money up. And I know my wife wouldn't be happy about it. And if you know, if they say if your wife's not happy, nobody's happy. But you know, we really need to start thinking of cattle farming as a business. A lot of us have thought of it as a lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle for most of us. But we really need to start thinking about what can we do to better manage our businesses? Because with our businesses, we're much more stringent. You know, we're much more strict in how we structure ourselves and how we structure structure ourselves to try to make a profit. Is there anybody in here that's ever made a profit in cattle farming? How many of you just want to break even? How many of you want, not on paper, how many of you want to just lose money? Well, I mean, I don't want to lose money either. So let's start thinking of it as a business. So what we're going to talk about, and again, I've changed this up a little bit. If you guys have the original presentation that I was going to do on CD, I think Adam gave that to you. If you want a copy of what I've changed here, just let Adam know, and I'll email it to him, and we can get it emailed to you guys or put it on a CD for you. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. But I want to talk tonight about design your farm to better meet your goals. We're not going to spend much time on that because we've already kind of discussed that. Profitable breeding management. The main thing I want to concentrate on tonight is advanced disease management and surveillance, preventative measures, and improving the beef business. So tonight we're really going to talk more about diseases, and because those can certainly be kind of confusing. Adam, you wanted new cartoons, so I've got you some. I don't know if you can see, but this guy here is riding a horse, and if you look at this, I hadn't seen too many horses with horns. It just says we've got to quit getting up so early or put some lights in the barn. So we've got to pay attention to what we're doing. If we're going to make money, we've got to be able to pay attention to what we're doing. Can you see? So deciding what the goal is for our farm. This has to be designed to fit you and your goals for owning cattle. Like we talked about, I can't make those decisions for you. Now, I certainly can make some suggestions, some ways that I think are kind of proven in our area to hopefully make more money. But you ultimately have to decide what your goal is for your farm. I can't tell you what that is. You also have to consider the environment which you live in. You know, Brahma cattle just don't really do quite as well here in North Carolina. We just don't get quite hot enough. And they definitely don't tend to market quite as well. Same thing for Scottish Highlanders. I mean, they just don't really do so well here in North Carolina because we do get hot enough in the summer that they just don't do nearly as well in our fescue grass. If you go and buy cattle in Montana or Canada, they're not going to come to North Carolina and do very well. They're just not adapted for our environment. So we need to consider when we're designing our farm and designing our goals, we need to consider the environment that we live in. Because it's really difficult for us to build cow houses like they build chicken houses and to raise them that way. It just doesn't work very well for cattle. Think about who you're going to market your product to and what they're looking for. I mean, this is the most important. I mean, you can make some of the greatest cattle on the face of the planet, but if you can't sell them, then you know you've lost a lot there. You know, there's been a lot of folks that have gone out and jumped into the purebred business, bought some real expensive cattle, bought $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 cows, brought them back here to North Carolina. I tell you, you're just not going to be able to sell the calves out of them and make money here in North Carolina. There's a whole different mindset in North Carolina. You know, out west, when the local farmers are meeting at the local store, they're bragging about how much they paid for a bull. Here in North Carolina, down at the Grantville BP station, the farmers down there are bragging about how little they had to give for a bull. I mean, there's just a whole different mindset here in North Carolina. Proper identification, I know that Adam's hit on this, or he's going to hit on it, but the only way we can track what our cattle are doing or what our employees are doing, because I told you I like to think of my cows as my employees. They're there to work for me. But the only way I can track them is if I keep track of them. I got to know what their name is. Katie back here works for me. If I didn't know her name, then it'd be hard for me to know what she's doing for my business. And same thing for my cows. I'm not saying you're a cow, Katie. But same thing for our cows. We have to have some kind of proper ID. And, you know, there are different ways to do that. Ear tags is definitely probably the simplest. But you certainly can go into tattoos. Tonight we're going to show you how to tattoo a couple of calves just so you have an idea of what's involved. It really is not that difficult. Branding, ear notching, electronic ID, ruminal implants. The funny thing is I did this talk for the Longhorn Association, and I had one of the guys tell me, he said, you know what, each one of my cows is completely different. I know exactly which one of my cows it is by the pattern on its side and the horn length. And I said, well, I understand what you're saying. I said, but now if something happened to you, would your wife know what those cows are? Would your wife be able to identify them and match them up with their papers? And his wife was sitting right beside him, and she just shook her head no. I mean, so we really got to be able to identify them.